So in this video, we're going to take a look at the power supply, the replacement power supply we're going to put into the machine. And so let's slide this off a little bit out of the way here. And a shout out to PCBWay. Hopefully this is in shot, and it is. Maybe someday they'll actually sponsor me, I don't know. But I use them for all my PCB needs. So we've got 4 brand new boards that I had delivered here, or 5 that I designed earlier in the week, designed them before Thanksgiving. They were supposed to have gotten here yesterday, and according to the DHL site, they were out for delivery. And then late in the afternoon, they were suddenly marked on hold, and I was never able to determine why they were, quote, on hold. And then this morning I got notification they were out for delivery, and they got here, I think, a little before noon. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble up one of these adapter boards. I got these from PCBWay. I think I mentioned that before. Always happy with their boards. Anyhow, so this board, I think I've mentioned this before, is designed so that the power cable in the Model 4 will come up and plug onto here. Let's compare it to the power supply I'm still troubleshooting. There will be a pin header here, and a 3-pin here, and a 2-pin. I need to go get one there. And so the internal ribbon cable that powers the Model 4 will come up and plug onto here, just like it does onto here. The monitor power will connect these 2 pins down here. The incoming AC to the system is on these pins here, same as it is here. So this just plugs into the existing wiring harness in the Model 3, or the Model 4P. And then finally there's a plus 12 volt right there for the power supply, or the fan, system fan as well. So this really gets me on this side everything I need to plug into the Model 4. And then on this side, we've just got a couple more connectors that go in this way. And I have pre-crimped these cables. So these cables will connect down onto these connectors, and then the wires will run off to the meanwhile switching power supplies I've got in the system. And the layout of the cables here is identical to the screw terminals. So there's no twisting or anything. It's 1-to-1 to the screw terminals. And then the same thing for the monitor power. It goes on here and snakes back around to the monitor supply. These are 18 gauge wire. They are silicone insulated. So I pre-crimped these a couple days ago. I've got a nice crimp tool, and I just pre-made these up. But the target for today is to get this guy assembled. We'll just go ahead and solder these on the bench as best we can. What I want to make sure is that's on straight. And it looks like it almost is. It's not quite. That's better. Let the solder set up. We've got the 3-pin here. There's really only 2 pins that are used in this connector. Again, it's meant to mimic this connector here. It makes me think I should probably pull that extra pin out so it's identical, even though there's a solder pad available for it. I don't think we need that pin. And the 3rd pin in here is a key, and I'll just pull it out, and that way it's pin identical, including the key pin slots. So let's go ahead and solder this guy in. At least get him started. Make sure he seems straight and he's Not quite in line with the other one. So the problem with doing this way, that's better. And then we've got this guy here, and this is designed so that the, oh, interesting, different style connectors. I didn't realize I had different styles here, but they will work. These two, but they're designed so that the key edge here is to the outside on both sides. That looks nice and flush. I didn't realize when I ordered these that I had ended up with different styles. Not that it really matters. They'll all work. And that's in line with the other one. So really we can go ahead at this point and solder this up. I could also remove the unused pins while there's the center pin on this guy is unused. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the extra pins that are unused out. Maybe. Wow, that was tough to get out of there. And there's only 4 wires used here. And then there are there are two extra pins on this connector. I'm going to solder the outside here as well at the moment, just to help facilitate pulling those extra pins out. So the earth isn't brought out through here. Ouch. And there's no connection on this pin. Damn it. These are really in tight. Sorry about the clicking. That's the little needleless pliers here snapping shut. Goes on like that. So let's solder this guy up. Sorry, I'm focused on the soldering here and not actually chatting. Some of these solder joints don't look as awesome as I'd like them to. The ones that are kind of dull really need more solder added. So you get the nice little kind of almost volcano shaped solder between the pad and the pin. So this is designed to be easily removable. Put the original switching power supply in if you wanted to. I may swap it back, assuming I can actually get it repaired. I haven't focused on repairing it yet. So this board screws in on the same 2 holes that the original power supply screwed onto here. So this board mounts right about like that. And then of course the internal wiring looms come up onto here and then off to the switching power supply. I do need to find one more connector, and there's going to be one in this box. which is one of these two ways over here for the fan. And the orientation, of course, is identical to what's on the original power supply. Probably should have put this guy in first, but I didn't. And like I was saying, this will screw down into the same mounting holes that the original power supply went to up here on the front. These cables, actually it screws in this direction. Let's get this correct. This loom then will run off to the 12 volt only switcher, and this one will run off to the primary system switching power supply, which is +5 ground, plus and minus 12. This is the +12 only. And then these black and whites here are where the AC power comes into the supplies. And I followed the US wiring standard, where black is the liner, the hot, and white is the neutral on both of these. So that, they are color coded white and black for a reason. These will be much shorter when they're installed, and really once the board's in place, I will measure these out, cut them and strip them, and then just tie them directly into the screw terminals on the power supply. I thought about crimping spade plugs onto these, but I don't think it's necessary. Partly because I don't have the smaller spade plugs a smaller power supply would use. But there it is. There is the little adapter board assembled. We'll get this in the case shortly. So let's proceed with getting this all put together and wired up. So I may have mentioned this before. I wanted some kind of insulation between this board and the sheet metal. The sheet metal in the case is the neutral, the earth ground, or it's earth. It's actually the third prong on a US connector. I needed some insulation, so if this board rocked a bit, the pins wouldn't short. This is a divider. It's a storage organizer. This is one of the divider tabs out of it. I just simply cut a couple of squares in it so it would just sit nicely over this. And it just sits in place there, and this should just screw right in. Using the original mounting screws and the original mounting built into the case. I can't think of what those little stands are called these screws are turning into, but this is designed to just screw down into here like so. The original power supply would have set about here down in there. So I did bring these a little closer to the edge here. They poke down in, and that gives me a little bit more length on the cable to work with. At the moment, the small switcher has been removed because I want to feed the wires in from the bottom before I tighten them up. So let's see, that one I don't need to worry about. So the earth connection, that ground, is going to be provided by the power supply being screwed into the case, is how I'm going to provide it, rather than actually coming to the earth ground terminal on the power supply. I've just decided that's the way I want to do it. That's how it was essentially done on the original power supply, is the chassis ground was actually picked up right here through that mounting tab, but it's kind of loose. It kind of flops around, so I don't know how good an earth ground that really was. Let's say the metal box everything is that ground, so let's get an idea of the length that I need. Can I get this one off of here? Yes. I need these to be in the range of about that length. strip each one of these. And hopefully this will get me a good tight connection into the power supply unit. At least I hope it does. This is stranded, and you're not supposed to solder wire before mounting it this way. It should just set in like that. And the screw terminal should compress that very well and make a very solid mechanical connection. We've got the same thing on these two. They come back to about there. This black is actually the system ground for the logic and the floppy drives and all that kind of stuff. And it goes to V minus as it's marked here on the little switching power supply. This one goes to V plus, it's the plus 12. This is the dedicated supply for the monitor. Get on all of these screw terminals with a flat and just torque them a little bit tighter. Perfect. I don't know if I can actually manage to start this way or not. I can. Pretty amazing that I could actually get that to work. The other hole is over here. It's one of those where I can feel it with my finger, but I can't seem to catch the screw in it. There it is. And of course I got it in and then immediately dropped it out. Ah, come on. I will need to come back around and tighten those up, but for now, that's plenty good enough. Gonna wire tie these just to neaten them up a little bit. And now we have the same thing for this cable. To me like ground can be cut right about there. Let's measure that again. That seems to work well. So we'll take these all at that same height, or thereabouts. Just kind of eyeballing. Of course, the amount that is being stripped here doesn't need to be precise. That should go in there. It actually ended up a little bit shorter than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. It still fit. It's not pulled absolutely tight. And we go to common right here. And the yellow in this case is plus 12, even though in the main wiring loom in the system it is orange. I didn't have any orange wire to work with for this. I used blue for the minus 12, even though the minus 12 in the system I believe is the yellow wire. So yeah, we are kind of jumping color codes here, but that's fine. Again, using the flat to actually get some torque on these. This one's not used, but it was loose. Same with this one. Make sure these are biting nice and tight. We can bring in the AC power. And at this point, really ought to be able to apply power to the system. And potentially see it wake up. Well, the power supply, I'm going to measure the voltages first. So I have on the silk screen of the adapter board, the voltages are written in. We'll tie these two together. And I'll tie these two together. So AC power is brought in. I have a plugged in power cord here. We don't have power going anyplace else in the system. Power's on. We see the green LED there. That's a good sign. If I switch to volts here, there's probably enough glare you can't see that. And I look, so I'm just going to get on a ground point here. I should see plus 12 for the monitor right here. And I do. The grounds aren't common at this point. That's interesting. I guess I didn't make those grounds common. I don't know if that's an issue or not. So it should be ground, 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 plus 5. Oh, I'm on the wrong common. Yeah. Maybe that's why it didn't appear to be. There we go. Okay. The power supply grounds are common like I thought they were supposed to be. So we've got 5 volts on 3 pins. Hopefully I've got 12 volts on 3 pins. 11.6 is a little low. Why is that so low? And minus 12 on this last pin. Oh, how close was the 5 volt? I don't think there's an adjustment for the plus 12. Those are good enough for what we need to do here. You know, they're not going to be a problem. I just don't like that they're not closer to on for the plus and minus 12. If I bring up the fan, get it hooked on there. Maybe. There it goes. Fan should now spin up. And it does. It does need to be replaced. And this guy goes on like so, and this is where the monitor picks up power, and that's the way those plug in. This isn't used. That should be enough to, we should be able to see the heater come on in the CRT. And hopefully I'll see a raster reflected here. We see, I hear a floppy drive spinning up as it tries to access it. So I just tried to boot from floppy and couldn't. I think I see a bit of a reflection off the face of the CRT. Yeah. CRT is lit up. So there we go. That little adapter board has taken care of what I wanted to do here, and taken care of it sufficiently. Say it's completely reversible. If we reverse this, there would be 4 screw holes left. That were the screw holes used to mount these 2 power supplies. That said, let's actually check one more thing here. So this is the incoming line cord to the system. Let me get the meter back out here and get it into continuity. We have continuity to the earths correctly from the earth on the power cord. So we are fully earthed here, as I expected to be, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted to see. if I remember right, this is the line. Or is it the... Oh, power switch on. I believe that side is line, which I should see to... Yeah, hopefully I don't have those backwards. It's labeled neutral and line. I just don't remember which side on the American Power connector is which. Neutral and line. They are the same orientation there. I can right now pop that off so I can get down into here. And that's what I'd expect to see. We'll cover that back up so it's safed. Helps keep stuff from poking down into the 120 volts. I think at this point we're actually good. So really now it's a matter of putting everything back into the case, which shouldn't be too difficult to do here. I've got two screws here holding that lid in this flipped over open position. And at this point the wiring harness should really be enough to keep that from flopping around. I should be able to take this and flip it over. Everything's hooked up, right? And flip it over. This was a spacer to give that lid more support while it's set there. And let's begin to mount this all up again. Why is that being so tight? Not the best case design. Actually, let me loosen these up so we have some slop. I mean, it works. It's just the sheet metal's a little bit finicky. And these are the two screws that I started blind for mounting that small switching power supply, because I can make sure the others are tight as well. So the only modification to the system were the 4 screw holes here to mount those, and there'd just be 4 extra holes in the case if I put the original supply back in. So looking down inside, there's plenty of clearance. I'm not going to try to rotate this up so you can see inside. I'll take some pictures. But there's plenty of clearance. Everything looks absolutely fine. Yeah, plenty of clearance. Nothing looks disastrous in there. So I think with that, we have wrapped this one up. With this, I will wrap this one up, and I will see you in a future video.